Hey there everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm going to give you a quick update today on where I've been at and what's been going on around here for the last 10 days or the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to give you a little insight into some of the stuff that I've been creating while I've been on a little bit of a break and having a bit of a holiday, and the things that I've been doing just to kind of get myself organised for the new year. And I really feel like I'm getting into it. January has been a solid month of planning for 2022, so I'm going to show you some of that coming up. I'm just sitting outside on our deck and the road is quite near us, so sometimes you might hear cars going past. The last I talked with you, the kids were heading away on a week's holiday. They left the following morning and they headed off about 9 o'clock, and honestly they got there safely, but I did worry about them the whole time that they were travelling, and I didn't really relax until I knew that they'd arrived safely at my brother's in Tauranga, which is about a 7-hour drive. You really can't help but worry a little bit, but they had a good time away. They were gone about a week and we were here just relaxing. I didn't have any plans to go anywhere. James had to go back to work on the 17th and I stayed home, and it was a little too quiet for my liking, especially on the 17th because that was my birthday. I did miss not having the kids with us. James and I did go out to dinner and celebrate a little, but in actual fact it was just another day, and I felt like the whole week was my birthday, being able to relax and just chill out. He was at work with the car, the kids had the other car up north, so I literally was stranded at home and I couldn't really go anywhere until he came home from work. So while I was at home, I just decided to embrace January, and I hadn't had any opportunity whatsoever to do any kind of planning for the new year in December, and we'd been very busy right up until Christmas and just after Christmas. And so when we got back, I thought I'm going to use this opportunity to get organised for the new year, make some plans, make some goals, sort myself out. I have been an avid bullet journaler. I want to say I've been bullet journaling since about maybe 2017, something like that. So about 5 years I've been bullet journaling. I've really enjoyed the process. I find bullet journaling incredibly methodical and practical. I find it also very creative. I used 2 bullet journals for the whole year last year, and I actually don't think I was doing it to the best that it could be utilised. So I thought I'm going to change that. I got so busy, it was one of the things that just went by the by. I simply just stuck with my Google Calendar and kept everything electronic. So all of the things that I needed to remember were remembered, but more the personal stuff, more the goals and the habits and tracking what I'm doing personally, that comes in when I use my bullet journal a lot more. So I just used your regular Leuchtturm. I'm not even sure how to say it, it's a German word. I used this one at the beginning of last year, and I put that. The road is actually quite a ways, but our home is elevated, and so I think the noise rises up to us. But I used that one for the first half of last year, and then I used this one from August last year, and I actually didn't even use it all. It's still got about another 50 pages left. So what I found at the end of last year is that I wasn't really keeping track of the things that I wanted to do for myself, mentally, physically, emotionally. The things that I wanted to do for my own health weren't being taken care of. I did notice that very much so, especially when we got the puppies. Everything just went like it was just survival a little bit for that. August we went into lockdown, September, October we had the puppies, then November we did quite a bit of travel, and then December Christmas hit. I just didn't have a whole lot of space to stop and think, and so I just created that space for myself this time. I think also with it being my birthday, it seems to be the best time for me to think about the year that's gone and the year that's ahead. So it's just ideal that I have my birthday in January, so it does prompt me to really sit down and work out what I'm going to do with the next chunk of my life. One thing that I did do though, it wasn't until March I think that I really started doing it, and that was a 5-year journal, and I simply wanted to do that because I had turned 45 and I thought I want to track what I do over the next 5 years between 45 and 50, and so I started doing that last year, and I was using the Moleskine notebooks, and I was hoping to purchase something that I could put them in that would create a nice binder or something, I don't know, just something that would be suitable for a 5-year journal, something that I was going to keep that was going to make it a keepsake. So I had that in my mind that I wanted to do. And the other thing that I wanted to do was to create a leather traveler's notebook to put my bullet journal in. So first of all I'm going to show you this one, and this is my 5-year journal, and this is one I'm going to show you as my bullet journal traveler's notebook, and these have just been super fun to make. I made these with everything I had on hand. The only thing I had to go and buy was 2 of the notebooks that have gone inside this Bullet Journals Traveller's Notebook, and that was because I didn't have any notebooks in A5 size. I could make one out of scrap paper, but I didn't have enough for the rest. The rest of them were very small Moleskine ones. Anyway, I'm going to turn you around. I don't normally do very well turning these things around, but I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to show you how I made them and what I made them from, and just give you a quick overview of what I'm using them for. And if you've got any questions, then just let me know in the comments, because I can answer anything if you're curious. So this leather I found, I rang around some upholsterers locally at the end of last year, probably about October, and I asked if anyone had any scrap leather, and one of the guys said, yeah, I've got a bit, come grab it. But really I've just made this with whatever I had on hand. Like I said, James had the cask and he'd come home at night, so the craft stores weren't open. So yeah, I just used what I had. I had these embellishments from, I think, something else that my sister had made me actually. I had these little metal eyelets that I already had, that I'd made a traveller's notebook years and years ago, and that was sitting in my sewing kit. I had this elastic, yeah, I already had my bullet journal, and I had the paper that I made these notebooks out of. But this particular leather is lovely. It's very, very soft. It's almost identical to this, and with the scrap stuff that I had left over, I was able to use some leather glue. I used Yoo-hoo glue. I covered the back side of this one. I cut out a little bit portion that was able to fit to double this up so that the front page was a bit thicker, and I had this portion here that I could make that made sense, and I thickened up the back of it here. As you can see, it's not dirty. It's almost the paper from where I've been cutting is just stuck to the leather, but it is actually in really good condition, and it smells lovely. It smells like leather. So I'm just going to show you what I keep in here. So this is going to be more for my personal stuff that I take with me during the day. I will literally carry my bullet journal with me everywhere. In my handbag, I keep it in the kitchen with me. I'm referring to it all day long. But I just wanted to add these other notebooks that I didn't have to have everything in my bullet journal, because it is kind of separate and doesn't last as long. But I'll explain now how I do that. So this first one I've created is basically for gratitude, devotions, an idea or a thought, or maybe a prayer if I've got something that I want to write out. I was doodling on that very first day, writing, and this is where I was sitting here working out some of my habits that I could possibly start implementing, and I realized I needed another book. So what I did was I put another notebook in the back, and I'm going to use this for random notes, because I often want to make a list, so I just want to be able to put that in there, because the bullet journal is very specific and ordered. I needed a blank book that could be for anything, so that just keeps my gratitude and my devotional stuff very separate, and it doesn't have to be me working out my habits that I want to start doing in the mornings. And this I looked for everywhere and I couldn't find it, so I decided to make my own. So often I was having to rewrite or redo an annual calendar inside the front of every bullet journal I owned, and that was getting really repetitive. I do plan monthly on my bullet journal, so I wanted to have something where I could just look at the whole year and be able to plan ahead if I need to, because not everything is always written up in my bullet journal ready to plan for those months. So this is where I can do that. Plan for holidays or birthdays or celebrations, things that I want to, jot down the ideas that I've got. So I wrote down some of the goals and things that I wanted to do for 2022 personally, and this is where I started to transfer some of the routines that I want to implement. And I've left a few pages because I haven't quite finished what I want to do with habits, and this is what I had to write up for myself, because what I wanted was a month layout and then some blank pages. So for example, this is January, and I've made notes of what we're doing because we're in January, but I've made notes of how New Year's went and what I would like to do the same or different for next year. For New Year's Day celebrations, a note that I wrote about holiday for January, and I wrote out some notes about my birthday that I want to remember. So this is also where I can make a note of the habits or the routines that I am implementing and anything I might like to change, and I can just start doing something different for February. But I think that a lot of it will apply for when we've got things like here, there's Easter's happening, school holidays are happening, and I might write here Easter weekend, and I'll write down my ideas of the things that I think we'd like to do, or the things that are happening, or tasks that I need to complete in order to make that happen. And I've got that going right through. I've got every single month and then a few pages afterwards. So So this is something that I haven't been able to find, that I had to make for myself, and I'm really thankful that it's there because I will hold on to this all year inside this notebook. And then I've got my bullet journal. I've just put in some paper there to cover up the title because I might write a quote or something. This is the index page that I may or may not use. I'm going to show you what I've often done with blank pages in my bullet journal is I've put pictures. This is basically what I've enjoyed doing. This was last year's Christmas. Bex was pregnant and we went to my sister-in-law's for Christmas lunch. And then we travelled up north. I pulled out the photos that meant the most and I put them in for that chunk of time that it related to, and I just made a note next to them as to what they were, or so that it's a bit of a keepsake. Yeah, the photos are definitely something that I have enjoyed doing and using the blank pages for. 2022 full year there, just so I can have a quick reference, because this is a very different view to my monthly layout, and I can at least put on here when the school holidays are or the public holidays, so I can have a good grasp of how many weeks we've got to go. Put in here some of the birthday cards that I got for my birthday, and I've got here the month, and I'm just keeping track of the things that we're doing. What have I got here? I went blueberry picking, we had people over for a barbecue, my birthday, it's public holiday. I've also got a list of kind of master things that I want to do for this month. Primary list on this month is to renovate and finish our bedroom and bathroom. I've created a habit tracker. I'm still working out the habits that I want to track, but for now it's just the basics of my vitamins, going for a swim, and intermittent fasting. Oh, and I'm also tracking how much coffee I'm not having. This is a running list of the ideas that come to my mind of what I want to do, and because they might not fall in January, but they're just things that need to get done. So for example, I want to do photo books. I haven't done them before and I'd like to start. I want to start doing fermented food. I want to repaint my kitchen cupboards sometime this year. I want to organise my photo storage better. I've got to hem some curtains in the bedroom. So those may not get done this month, but it's just a place for me to put the things that if I don't know what to do each month, I can look here and see if I can plan to do something. I create for myself a weekly layout at the start of the week, and here I will put down what we're having for dinner, any activities, any appointments. I might put the weather. I do put the cleaning tasks. I don't really do any journaling. This is just the data. And then I start doing my dailies. I had a conversation with James, and so I wrote down all the things that I was thinking about, the things we wanted to talk to the kids about. So I wrote that there to refer back to, and also it keeps track of when it happened, so I find that really helpful for when I'm thinking about things later. This is yesterday and this is today, so I didn't even have a plan for today, but I've had a very busy day, so I'm just going to write in afterwards, or I might just do some journaling in here later. And there's literally nothing else in here at all. Normally I would have put a big yearly calendar in the beginning, and I would have started planning out holidays and things, and then when I finish this in 4 months I would transfer it over. So this has meant that I don't have to do that. So I have wanted to make one of these simply because, being in New Zealand, if I was to buy one from overseas, either from the UK or the US, by the time I convert the dollars and by the time I pay for postage, it ends up being so super expensive. It's just not worth it. And so ideally I would just purchase one. It's not worth the effort trying to make it, but in order to have one at all, I have to make it. So this is my 5-year journal, and I'm going to give all credit to my sister for this one. She gave me this journal about 4 or 5 years ago with note paper in it, and it had quotes and pictures and words of encouragement and poems. She had all sorts of things in here, and I have used it a lot over the years, but then I stopped using it. But because it was so rustic and cool and vintage looking, I kept it in my keepsake box, mostly because it had been a gift from her, and also because it was just too good to throw away. So I remembered this when I was doing my other journal. Just in my mind I kept thinking of blue leather, and I kept wondering where I'd seen blue leather and why I thought I had some, and then I remembered what I'd seen it from, and so I opened up my keepsake box and I found it, and I repurposed it with the Moleskines that I have been using for this last year. And so I basically undid the notebooks that she had in there. Now she's used a type of wax twine, and it was just obviously done with a needle and thread, well, a needle that could obviously put this thread in it. So what I did was I pulled it all apart. I undid the knots from inside the notebooks that you can see there. That was already in the old ones that she had created for me. And these are Moleskine notebooks that I've been using. So I took the binding out of them so that they didn't have any binding. They just ended up having the perforated holes. And I restitched them in using this twine that she had already used to create this traveller's notebook. I'll tell you about this in a minute. And so I was able to put in all of them that I want to use. Moleskine notebooks only have 80 pages, so I've had to use 6 here to create it. I actually think I'm only going to need 5, but I don't mind having a bit of spare paper at the back in case I want to make some notes. I won't show you what I've written on some of the pages. So all I do is I've got enough lines on these pages to do 6 lines for every year for 5 years. So I just write the date at the top, like this will be the, I don't know, whatever it is going to be, the 31st of January, and it's going to be the 31st of January for every year, so I don't have to put the year. I can if I want to, and generally I do. I put 2022 underneath, and then I'll fill in 6 lines, and this is where this little note to myself comes in. I've written, where am I visiting, a positive memory from today, a hard thing that happened today, and looking forward to tomorrow. I didn't start till March, so in March you can see that I've already filled in the top part. So that's what I've been doing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like after 5 years. So I normally keep this part of it in the day that I'm up to, and I just fill it in each night when I go to bed. So that, I think, is going to be a really beautiful keepsake. So thank you to my sister Natalie. I really enjoyed putting that together, and even putting it together I realised again how clever she is. Anyway, I feel like I have talked a lot, but I feel like I have shown you they haven't been doing nothing this last 10 days, and it has been incredibly fun being creative, organising this. It has been really eye-opening how much I have in my head that I want to do, but in reality I need to make those happen in small incremental steps. So it's been very good for me just to slow down and think about what's really important and focus on input, what I'm doing like in the moment, rather than trying to work out how to increase output. I don't know what someone's doing next door. I think they're setting up scaffolding or something. I really hope that that has inspired you maybe to organise something for yourself. I'm just going to continue using this and see how it goes, and maybe next year I might make something better. If you've got any questions, like I said already, just let me know in the comments below. I hope this video has inspired you or encouraged you in some way. So until the next video, bye for now.